Hello there, and a very warm welcome. Wherever you are in the world, and whatever time it may be for you, I'm so glad you're here with us tonight. I often wonder where our stories travel, so if you feel like it, I'd be happy to know where you're watching from in the comments. But for now, get comfortable, settle in. Our journey begins not with a sound, but with the faintest touch of warmth. In the deep, silent heart of an ancient wood, where the darkness is thick and velvety, something stirs. There are no alarms here, no roosters to crow, no sudden jolts into consciousness. There is only a single, impossibly gentle beam of pre-dawn light, a shy, exploratory finger of warmth that has navigated the labyrinthine canopy of giant oaks and ancient pines to finally touch a specific patch of moss on the forest floor. And where it touches, awareness begins. The waking of a forest spirit is not the opening of eyes, for it has no eyes to open. It is an unfurling. It is a slow gathering, a coalescing of self from the ambient world it has been dissolved into throughout the night. Imagine a fine mist hanging in a cool, still hollow, and as the first touch of sun warms it, it begins to thicken, to swirl, to pull itself together, not into a solid shape, but into a coherent thought. Last night, the spirit was a part of everything. The coolness of the river stones, the silent strength of the tree roots, the memory of moonlight trapped in a dewdrop. Now, prompted by that single, patient sunbeam, it begins to remember its own unique existence. It gathers itself from the damp air, from the green lifeblood of the moss, from the very soil, becoming a distinct presence once more. It is a slow, meditative process, like a long, deep, silent breath being drawn in over the course of many minutes. There is no urgency, no sense of a day needing to be seized. The day will come when it comes. The spirit's first sensation is that touch of warmth, a tiny golden island in an ocean of pre-dawn chill. It feels the cool, damp embrace of the night air clinging to the forest floor, a familiar, clean coolness that smells of stone and clean water. Its awareness spreads, and it feels the texture of the world it is a part of. It feels the plush, yielding spring of the moss bed, each tiny hair-like frond a perfect cushion. It feels the rough, corrugated bark of the ancient oak it rests against, a map of 1,000 years etched into its skin. It feels the smooth, cold, unyielding surface of a half-buried riverstone, a patient entity that has been here longer than even the trees. It is not feeling these things with hands. It is these things, experiencing their passive, silent existence as its own. It is a profound, all-encompassing connection, a state of being that humans with their distinct and separate bodies can only ever dream of. As its consciousness continues to coalesce, it begins to taste, not with a mouth, but with its entire being. To taste for the spirit is to absorb and to understand. It tastes the morning dew that has gathered on the leaves and moss around it. It is not merely water. It is clean, crisp, and impossibly pure, carrying the faint green memory of the leaf it rested upon, the subtle earthy signature of the moss it has beaded on, and even a lingering spectral trace of the starlight it reflected just hours before. It is a far more complex and satisfying beverage than anything mortals brew. It tastes the air itself, a rich and layered meal. There is the sharp, clean taste of the high, thin air drifting down from the mountain peaks. the heavy, rich taste of the low-lying air thick with pollen and life, and the ever-present foundational taste of damp, ancient earth. The world is a feast, and the spirit savors every note. And then comes the scent, perhaps the most powerful and articulate of all its senses. The spirit breathes in a slow, full inhalation that is both a physical and metaphysical act. It breathes in the very soul of the forest. The dominant scent, the one that underpins everything, is the smell of damp earth. It is not the smell of simple dirt. It is a rich, dark, complex perfume, woven from 1,000,000 years of life and decay. It smells of minerals and deep, hidden water. It smells of the quiet, tireless work of worms and beetles. It is the scent of potential, of the patient, black soil from which all green things spring. It is the deep bass note of the forest symphony. Layered over this is the sharp, almost sweet scent of decaying leaves. For the spirit, this is not a smell of death, but of renewal. It is the comforting, cyclical aroma of the forest tidying up after itself, of last season's glory being transformed into next season's fuel. It smells of autumn even in the spring, a constant, gentle reminder that nothing is ever truly lost, merely changed. It is the forest's quiet exhale, the pantry being restocked. This is the very breath of the forest floor, and the spirit knows it intimately. It can distinguish the spicy decay of an oak leaf from the piney sharpness of a needle, the papery whisper of a birch leaf returning to the earth. The whole world is speaking to it through scent, telling the long, slow, gentle story of its own existence. The unfurling is almost complete. The spirit, once a diffuse, sleeping part of the whole, is now a focused, aware, and distinct being. It has no name, for names are for things that need to be differentiated. It is simply the spirit of this grove, as much a part of the landscape as the oldest tree, but with a consciousness that can wander and wonder. It shimmers in the growing light, a faint, almost invisible distortion in the air, woven from mist and moss and the first hopeful rays of a new day. The waking is over. The day has not yet truly begun, but the stage is set. The spirit is here, present and aware, ready to listen to the quiet, ancient chorus of its home. As the dawn light strengthens, filtering through the high leaves in shifting, dappled patterns, the spirit solidifies its presence. To ask what the spirit is to ask a question in a language it does not understand. It has no bones, no blood, no skin. It is not a creature in the way a wolf or a deer is a creature. It is, perhaps, best understood as a thought that the forest has been having for a very, very long time. It has no fixed solid form. Its body is an act of will, a temporary sculpture made from the raw materials of its home. It is a being of coalesced energy, a living, breathing tapestry woven from the most ethereal and intangible elements of the woods. On a clear night, its form is spun primarily from moonlight, a cool, silver, shimmering essence that gives it a ghostly, luminous quality. It can gather the stray beams that pierce the canopy, weaving them into a form that is barely there, a creature of soft light and long, elegant shadows. On a spring morning, its body might be woven from pollen, a soft, golden, hazy cloud that drifts silently through the trees, carrying with it the promise of new life. In the misty, quiet hours after a rain, it is a being of pure vapor, a swirling, formless entity that can seep through the smallest cracks in the bark of a tree, or rise from the damp ground like a slow, silent exhalation. But its most common and most vital component is the green life force of the woods itself. It is the raw, potent energy of photosynthesis, the silent, powerful hum of life that radiates from every leaf, every blade of grass, every patch of moss. The spirit can draw this energy into itself, giving its form a faint, verdant glow, a living, breathing emerald light. Its shape is as fluid as its composition. Most of the time, it is barely visible, a subtle shimmer in the air, a heat haze on a cool day, a distortion that you might catch in the corner of your eye and dismiss as a trick of the light. It can be as insubstantial as a scent, a sudden, inexplicable wave of pine and damp earth in a clearing where no pine trees grow. It has learned that to be unseen is to be safe, to be at peace. But at times, when it feels a need to interact with the world in a more direct, if still gentle way, it will assume a shape. It is a faint, translucent humanoid form, a suggestion of a body rather than a solid object. You cannot see its face, for it has no features, only a gentle concentration of light where a face might be. Its arms are long, graceful tendrils of mist and swirling leaves. Its legs are columns of soft green light that dissolve into the forest floor. It has no weight. It leaves no footprints. When it moves, the leaves and mosses it passes over remain undisturbed. Its existence is utterly, inextricably tied to this specific corner of the forest. This is its heart grove, a small, sacred clearing dominated by a circle of ancient gnarled oaks and a single colossal pine that seems to touch the sky. It cannot leave this place. This is not a punishment, not a prison. The spirit is not bound to this grove by chains or magical wards. It is bound by a connection far deeper, far more fundamental. Its very essence is woven into the root systems of these elder trees. Its life force is entangled with theirs in a perfect, ancient symbiosis. The spirit is the consciousness of the grove, and the grove is the body of the spirit. They are two parts of a single, indivisible whole. To leave the grove would be for the spirit like a human trying to leave their own heart behind. It would unravel, its form dissipating, its consciousness fading back into the generic, unthinking life force of the wider forest. The roots of the elder trees are its veins, carrying not blood, but memories. It can feel the history of this place as a part of its own being. It remembers when the great pine was just a sapling, a tiny, hopeful spear of green pushing up through the leaf litter. It remembers the great fire of 1,000 summers ago, not as a visual memory, but as a searing, painful heat that it felt through the scorched bark of its trees. It remembers the long, slow, peaceful centuries of quiet growth, the changing of the seasons, the coming and going of countless generations of birds and beasts. This connection is not a one-way street. The grove, in turn, depends on the spirit. The spirit is its guardian, its caretaker, its immune system. It keeps the delicate balance of the grove in check. It encourages the growth of beneficial fungi. It subtly discourages the encroachment of invasive weeds. It soothes the ancient trees when they are stressed by drought or storm. It does not command the forest. It makes suggestions. It is a quiet, guiding influence, a gentle gardener whose work is performed over centuries, not seasons. It is the living embodiment of the grove's will to survive, to thrive, to endure. So, the spirit's body is a paradox. It is both everywhere and nowhere. It is in the moonlight on a fern, the pollen in the air, the mist on the river. But it is also here, a distinct, thinking, feeling presence, temporarily contained within a shimmering, ethereal form. It is ancient, but it is also new every morning. It is powerful, but its power is in its gentleness, its patience, its perfect harmony with its home. It has no need for food, for it is nourished by light. It has no need for sleep, for it rests by dissolving into the world. It has no need for a name, for everything in this grove already knows who it is. It is the whisper of the leaves, the coolness of the moss, the deep, silent strength of the ancient wood. It is the forest, awake and aware, and its day is just beginning. Having gathered itself from the morning mist and moonlight, the spirit performs its first conscious act of the day. It listens. This is not the passive act of hearing that mortals know. The spirit has no ears to catch the vibrations of the air. Its listening is a far more profound and active process. It is an extension of its own consciousness, a deliberate sending out of its awareness, not into the sky, but down, deep down, into the rich, dark, living earth of its grove. It sinks its attention beneath the surface, past the layers of damp leaf litter, past the tangled, questing roots of the ferns and wildflowers, and into the silent, bustling, secret world of the soil. Here, in the cool, moist darkness, is where the real life of the forest resides. And here, the spirit taps into a conversation as old as the woods themselves, a silent, intricate, and unending chorus of life. It is listening to the mycelial network. To a human eye, it would look like nothing more than a fine, white, thread-like fuzz clinging to the roots of the trees. But to the spirit's perception, this network is a vast, interconnected superorganism, a subterranean brain that links every single plant in the grove. It is the true nervous system of the forest, a wood-wide web of infinite complexity. The spirit's awareness merges with this network, and the silent world of the soil explodes into a symphony of information. The first thing it perceives is the slow, patient transfer of resources. It can feel the great, ancient mother oak, its roots sunk deep into a pocket of nutrient-rich soil, generously sending a steady, gentle flow of carbon and nitrogen through the fungal threads to its smaller, struggling neighbors. It can feel a young birch tree which has found a small patch of sunlight, sharing its excess sugars with a shaded, weary pine. It is a slow, silent, selfless act of community, a perfect underground economy where needs are met without question and resources are shared without greed. There is no currency here, no concept of debt. There is only the quiet, humming certainty that a stronger neighbor today means a stronger forest tomorrow. It is a slow-motion river of life, flowing unseen beneath the forest floor, and the spirit feels it as a gentle, warm, and deeply comforting pulse. The network is not just a delivery system, it is also an early warning system. The spirit's awareness drifts to the far edge of the grove, where a stand of young maple trees grows near a rocky outcrop. Here, the hum is different. It is fainter, tinged with a note of quiet desperation. The spirit can feel the thirst of their root systems, the soil around them growing dry and hard. The maples are sending out a slow, silent chemical signal of distress through the mycelial threads, a message that is received by the entire grove. In response, the deeper-rooted, more established trees begin to subtly alter their own water usage, conserving their resources, preparing for a potential drought. It is a slow, collective bracing, a community preparing for hardship together, all orchestrated through this silent, invisible network. It is the forest's version of a weather forecast, and it is far more reliable than anything a mortal could devise. But the network carries more than just nutrients and warnings. It carries memories. The fungal threads are the forest's hard drive, a living library where the history of the grove is stored. As the spirit's consciousness travels along these threads, it experiences echoes of the past. It can feel the lingering spectral signature of a great stag that died in this spot 2 centuries ago, its body returning to the earth, its life force enriching the soil and becoming a part of this very network. It can feel the faint, joyful memory of a bumper crop of acorns from a decade past, a time of plenty and prosperity. It can even feel the deep, ancient, traumatic memory of the rock slide that created the northern cliff face, a memory stored in the crushed and regrown threads of the oldest fungi. These are not visual memories. They are emotional and chemical imprints, ghosts in the machine, stories told in a language of carbon and enzymes. For the spirit, to listen to the network is to read the autobiography of its own home. It is a chorus of life, humming just beneath the surface. The dominant note is a deep, slow, resonant hum, the collective, patient life force of the great trees. It is a sound of immense, ancient, and unshakable peace. Woven through this are the higher, quicker notes of the smaller plants, the eager, optimistic hum of the ferns, the delicate, almost lyrical melody of the wildflowers, the quiet, humble murmur of the mosses. And beneath it all is the deep, slow, almost silent rhythm of the fungi themselves, the conductors of this great subterranean orchestra. The spirit spends a long time in this state of deep listening, its consciousness spread throughout the entire grove, feeling the pulse of its home. It is a form of meditation, a way of reaffirming its connection to the living world it is a part of. It is a reminder that the true strength and beauty of the forest lies not in the individual trees that reach for the sky, but in the vast, unseen, interconnected web that binds them all together in a single, magnificent and silent whole. And having listened to the morning report from the soil, having felt the steady, reassuring heartbeat of its home, the spirit gently withdraws its awareness. It rises back to the surface, its own being resonating with the deep, peaceful hum of the earth. The chorus is over, but the music lingers. And now the spirit is ready to begin its day's work. With the silent chorus of the soil still humming within its consciousness, the spirit turns its attention to its first and most sacred task of the day. It is a ritual as old as the spirit itself, a quiet duty born of love and symbiosis. It begins to drift, a silent, shimmering movement through the cool morning air, towards the undisputed heart of its grove, the elderwood. The elderwood is not a name, but a title. It is a colossal gnarled oak tree of incomprehensible age. Its trunk is a fortress of living wood, so wide that a dozen humans holding hands could not encircle it. Its bark is a deep, fissured landscape, a rugged terrain of canyons and ridges, home to entire ecosystems of mosses, lichens, and tiny scurrying insects. Its lowest branches are as thick as ordinary trees, swooping down to brush the forest floor before soaring upwards again, creating a vast, sheltering canopy. This tree is not merely a plant, it is a monument to endurance, a living library of time, a grandparent to every other tree in this forest. The spirit approaches the elderwood with a sense of profound reverence. This tree is more than just a part of its home. It is its anchor, its oldest companion, the physical vessel to which its own ethereal life force is most strongly tied. The spirit drifts to the sunny side of the massive trunk, where the morning light is painting the rugged bark in strokes of gold. And here it begins the act of tending. This is not physical work. The spirit carries no tools, no pruning shears, no salves or potions. Its tending is an act of pure, focused empathy. It presses its misty, translucent form against the ancient bark. The sensation is not one of a solid meeting a solid. It is a gentle merging, a dissolving of boundaries. The spirit's form flattens and spreads, seeping into the deep fissures and cracks of the bark like morning mist settling into a valley. It is becoming one with the tree, its awareness sinking past the tough outer layers and into the living, breathing wood beneath. It feels the slow, majestic, almost glacial pulse of the tree's life force, the patient, steady rise of sap from the deep roots, a heartbeat that is measured in seasons, not seconds. Here, pressed against the ancient wood, the spirit breathes. It is not an exchange of air, but an exchange of vitality. The spirit draws in the tree's weariness, its ancient accumulated aches, the slight stiffness from the cold night. It inhales the tree's fatigue, processing it within its own ethereal form, neutralizing it. And then it exhales. It breathes out its own pure, vibrant life force, the energy it has gathered from the moonlight and the starlight and the very air. and pushes it gently into the tree. It is a transfusion of pure vitality, a quiet gift of renewal. The tree, in turn, shares its own strength with the spirit, its immense, deep-rooted stability, its unshakable patience, its profound ancient peace. It is a silent, perfect exchange, a symbiotic greeting that reaffirms their ancient bond. As its awareness spreads through the tree, the spirit conducts a gentle internal survey. It is searching for imbalances, for disharmonies, for the small, quiet struggles that are a part of any living thing's existence. And today, it finds one. On a large, low-hanging branch, there is a small patch of bark sickness. It is not a dramatic wound, but a slow, creeping ailment. The bark is pale and brittle, flaking away to reveal a sickly, discolored wood beneath. A small, opportunistic fungus has begun to take hold, a symptom of a deeper weakness in this particular part of the branch. A mortal woodsman might see this and simply cut the branch off, a crude but effective surgery. The spirit's approach is infinitely more gently. It drifts along the branch, its form swirling and coalescing directly over the afflicted area. It does not attack the invasive fungus. It does not try to magically banish the sickness. To do so would be to treat the symptom, not the cause. Instead, the spirit focuses on the tree itself. It presses its form deep into the sickened wood, and it begins to coax it back to health. It is an act of profound encouragement. The spirit channels a focused, steady stream of its own life force directly into the weakened wood, a warm, green, vibrant energy. It is not forcing the tree to heal. It is reminding the tree how to heal itself. It is whispering, in a language older than words, of strength, of resilience, of the deep, powerful life that still flows through the heart of the wood. It is like a parent humming a soothing lullaby to a fretful child. Under this gentle, persistent persuasion, a slow, microscopic miracle begins to occur. Deep within the cells of the branch, the tree's own natural defense mechanisms begin to stir. The flow of nutrient-rich sap to the area increases, a slow, steady reinforcement. The cells begin to divide with a renewed vigor, creating a new, healthy layer of wood just beneath the sickened surface. The invasive fungus, finding its food source now fortified and resistant, begins to wither, its hold weakening. This is not a process of minutes or hours. It will take days, perhaps even weeks, for the branch to fully recover. The spirit's work is not a quick fix, but the initiation of a long, slow, natural process. It has simply provided the initial spark, the gentle nudge, the quiet reminder of the immense inherent power of life to heal itself. Having initiated the healing, the spirit withdraws, its form detaching from the branch and floating once more in the open air. It has given a part of its own energy to the elderwood, and in return it feels a deep sense of peace and purpose. This is its function, its joy. It is the guardian of the grove's memory, the tender of its ancient heart. It is the quiet, unseen force that ensures that this magnificent living monument will continue for yet another millennium, its great branches reaching for a sun that the spirit will greet again and again, day after timeless day. The first task is complete. The elderwood is content. And now the spirit is free to turn its attention to the other younger, more fleeting voices of its home. Its sacred duty to the elder wood fulfilled, the spirit feels a gentle pull, a quiet curiosity drawing it towards the edge of its grove. It begins to move, not with the deliberation of walking, but with the effortless, aimless grace of a drifting seed pod. It is carried by the soft, invisible currents of the forest air, a silent, shimmering passenger on a breeze that only it can feel. Its movement is a perfect, fluid dance, weaving between the trunks of the trees, its misty form parting to flow around a low-hanging fern frond before coalescing again on the other side. It is a being without friction, without resistance, moving through the world as easily as a thought moves through a mind. Its destination is the stream, the silver, liquid boundary that marks the edge of its heart grove. As it approaches, the sounds of the forest change. The deep, resonant quiet of the deep woods gives way to a new, more lively music. The spirit hears the gentle, constant murmur of moving water, the soft, liquid chatter of the stream as it tumbles over smooth, moss-covered stones. It hears the high, clear, bell-like song of a kingfisher perched on an overhanging branch. This is the voice of the water, and the spirit drifts closer to listen to what it has to say. The spirit comes to rest at the water's edge, hovering just above the damp, fern-lined bank. To a mortal eye, the stream is a simple, beautiful thing. Clear water flowing over a bed of pebbles, sunlight sparkling on its surface. But the spirit does not just see the water, it perceives it. For the spirit, the river is not just a physical entity. It is a flowing scroll, a liquid messenger carrying news and stories from the world beyond its grove. It extends a single misty tendril of its form and allows it to touch the surface of the water. The moment of contact sends a cascade of information through its being. It is not just feeling the coldness of the water, it is reading its language. The first story the river tells is of its own journey. The spirit can feel the deep, ancient cold of the mountain's heart, the memory of the snowmelt that gave the stream its birth. It can taste the journey the water has taken, the faint, sharp, mineral tang of the granite bedrock it has flowed over, the softer, earthier notes of the lowland soils it has passed through. It can feel the memory of the water's turbulence, the exhilarating, chaotic tumble down a steep, rocky waterfall miles upstream, and the contrasting memory of its peaceful, lazy meandering through a sun-drenched meadow. The water is a liquid map, and the spirit traces its entire course in a single instant sensation. Next, the spirit reads the news of the forest's other inhabitants. The water carries scents and traces, a guest book of everyone who has interacted with it. The spirit perceives the faint, musky, wild scent of a deer that stopped to drink from this very spot not an hour ago. It can feel the ghost of the deer's thirst, the simple, pure pleasure of the cool water on its tongue. It also detects a subtler, sharper scent, the trail of a hunting fox that passed this way earlier in the morning, its paws leaving a faint, predatory signature in the mud of the riverbank. The river tells the spirit that the eternal silent dance of hunter and hunted continues unabated. The spirit's perception is so fine, so exquisitely sensitive, that it can read even the most delicate of stories. It feels the faint, oily residue of a single iridescent feather from a kingfisher, which fell into the water upstream and has long since been carried away. It can feel the memory of its vibrant, impossible blue, a tiny, fleeting jewel that graced the water for a moment. It can taste the sweet, sticky pollen from a willow tree that leans over the bank, its blossoms dusting the water's surface, a silent, fragrant offering. Each of these tiny traces is a word, a sentence, a verse in the long, flowing poem of the forest's day. The river also brings news from the world of humans, though it is a story the spirit reads with a detached, emotionless curiosity. Today, it tastes a faint, unfamiliar, and slightly unpleasant chemical tang in the water. It is a ghost of a scent, a memory of something alien. The spirit traces this taste back to its source, miles and miles away, a place where the water flows past a tilled field, a place where humans have spread their strange, unnatural powders on the soil. The river has carried a tiny, diluted memory of this act all the way here. The spirit does not judge it as good or bad. It is simply information, a new, discordant note in the river's familiar song. It is a quiet, unsettling reminder that there is a world beyond its peaceful grove, a world that operates by different, more complicated rules. For a long time, the spirit simply hovers, its essence connected to the flowing water, reading the endless stream of stories that it brings. The river is its connection to the wider world, a safe, filtered way to experience the comings and goings beyond its own boundaries. It is a constant, ever-changing source of novelty in a life of immense, peaceful repetition. It tells the spirit that the world is alive, that the great cycle of life and death, of thirst and satiation, of growth and decay continues on. Having read the morning's news, having satisfied its quiet curiosity, the spirit gently retracts its tendril. The connection is broken, but the stories linger in its consciousness. It gives a silent, grateful acknowledgement to the stream for the tales it has shared. The river murmurs its reply, its endless, gentle chatter, a promise that there will be new stories to tell tomorrow. The river is a flowing scroll, and the spirit, its most patient and attentive reader, now turns its focus back to the quiet, internal affairs of its own green, sun-dappled kingdom. Having read the flowing news of the river, the spirit drifts back towards the heart of its grove, its attention turning from the grand, sweeping stories of the wider world to the smaller, more intimate dramas unfolding within its own domain. It settles into a state of quiet, passive observation, its misty form half dissolved into the dappled sunlight and shadow beneath the great oak trees. It becomes a silent, invisible audience to the frantic, beautiful, and achingly brief lives of the sun-dwellers. From the spirit's perspective, a being whose own existence is measured in the slow, patient growth of trees, the lives of the forest's mortal creatures are a breathtaking spectacle of speed. They are like sparks from a fire, burning hot, bright, and fast. Their entire lifespan a mere flicker in the vast, slow twilight of the spirit's own consciousness. It watches them not as a superior being, but with a gentle, detached, and deeply felt affection, the way a mountain might watch the brief, beautiful life of a wildflower growing on its slopes. Its first object of attention is a doe and her new fawn. The fawn is a fragile, impossibly lovely creature, all spindly legs and wide, curious eyes. It moves with a clumsy, uncertain grace, its every movement a new discovery. The spirit watches as the fawn takes its first tentative nibbles of a fresh green leaf. Its mother standing nearby, her head raised, her ears constantly swiveling, a perfect embodiment of maternal vigilance. The spirit feels the powerful, uncomplicated love between the two, a bond as pure and strong as any force in the forest. The fawn, in its innocent exploration, begins to wander towards a small shaded patch of ground where a cluster of deceptively beautiful but highly poisonous mushrooms are growing. The doe, distracted for a moment by a distant sound, does not notice. The spirit, however, does. It does not shout a warning or physically intervene. Its methods are far more subtle. It focuses its will, gathering a small, playful gust of wind, a little zephyr born of nothing. It sends this puff of air tumbling through the undergrowth, its target a single, dry, brittle leaf lying on the path just in front of the fawn. The leaf dances up into the air, spinning and twirling in a sudden, unexpected display. The fawn, its attention immediately captured by this new, delightful toy, prances after it, its quest for the interesting-looking mushrooms completely forgotten. The doe's attention returns. She gives a soft, gentle call, and the fawn bounds back to her side. The danger has passed. The spirit's intervention was invisible, unnoticed, a tiny, anonymous nudge that has ensured the continuation of a small, beautiful life. It feels a quiet, gentle satisfaction, the quiet pride of a gardener who has discreetly protected a favorite bloom. Its gaze then shifts upwards to the frantic, bustling world of the high branches. It watches a red squirrel engaged in its life's great work, the gathering and burying of nuts. The squirrel is a creature of pure, unadulterated energy, a tiny, furry explosion of purpose. It darts along branches with a death-defying agility, its tail a fluffy rudder. It finds an acorn, inspects it with the intense scrutiny of a master jeweler, and then buries it with a furious, comical burst of digging. The spirit watches this with a sense of timeless amusement. It has seen this exact same dance performed by countless generations of this squirrel's ancestors. It knows, with a certainty that borders on omniscience, that the squirrel will forget where it has buried at least half of these acorns. And it knows that from those forgotten acorns, new oak trees will spring, continuing the great, slow cycle of the forest. The squirrel, in its frantic, short-sighted industry, is an unwitting and deeply important agent of the forest's future. The spirit feels a fond, gentle affection for the tiny, forgetful creature and its vital, accidental work. Not all the dramas it observes are so peaceful. Later, its attention is drawn by a sudden sharp rustle in the undergrowth. A hunting fox, its body a sleek, silent flame of red fur, is stalking a field mouse. The fox moves with a liquid, predatory grace, its every muscle coiled with intense focus. The spirit feels the sharp, electric hum of the hunt. The fox is focused, hungry intent,
and the mouse's terrified, high-pitched panic. It does not take sides. It does not view the fox as evil or the mouse as good. They are simply two parts of the same whole, two actors playing their assigned roles in the forest's great, unsentimental play. The hunt is a necessary, vital part of the balance, as important as the gentle sharing of nutrients in the soil. The fox makes its final lightning-fast pounce. There is a brief, pitiful squeak, and then silence. The fox trots away with its prize, its hunger sated for another day. The spirit feels no sadness, no judgment. It feels only the quiet, profound rightness of the cycle. Life feeds on life so that life may continue. The sun dwellers, with their fleeting, passionate, and often violent lives, are the vibrant, chaotic heart of the forest. They are the quick, bright music played over the slow, deep, enduring bass note of the trees and the soil. The spirit watches them all, the lovers, the hunters, the builders, the grazers, with an ancient, patient, and all-encompassing affection. It is their silent witness, their invisible guardian, their oldest and most constant neighbor. It is the quiet, still center of their vibrant, swirling world. And in their brief, beautiful lives, it sees a reflection of the forest's own endless, magnificent, and eternal dance. The sun, a great, golden eye in the vast blue sky, climbs to its zenith. As it reaches the highest point of its daily journey, a profound and perceptible change comes over the forest. The vibrant, bustling energy of the morning begins to wane, replaced by a deep, heavy, almost sacred stillness. It is the midday pause, the forest's collective, silent sigh. The air, once cool and crisp, grows warm and thick, heavy with the scent of sun-baked earth and the sweet, drowsy perfume of blooming wildflowers. The light, which was once slanted and golden, now falls in straight, stark shafts, piercing the canopy to dapple the forest floor in pools of brilliant, shimmering white. The birdsong, which was a constant, cheerful chorus just hours before, quiets down to a few sporadic, lazy chirps. The frantic activity of the squirrels ceases, and the deer retreat to the cool, shaded depths of the thickets to rest. It is as if the entire forest is holding its breath, taking a moment of quiet reverence for the overwhelming power and generosity of the sun. For the spirit, this is a time of retreat and renewal. It has spent the morning observing, listening, and tending to the needs of its grove. Now it is time to tend to itself. It begins to drift upwards, rising from the forest floor like a column of warm air, its misty, translucent form growing ever more ethereal as it ascends. It passes the lower branches of the great trees, weaving through the dense, leafy mid-layers, climbing higher and higher until it reaches the very top of the forest, the high, sun-drenched canopy of the elderwood. Here, at the roof of its world, the spirit performs its own midday ritual. It does not seek shade. It seeks the light. It merges with the high canopy, its form dissolving, its consciousness spreading out until it becomes one with the leaves themselves. It is no longer a distinct entity. It is now a part of the tree's great green solar sail. It feels the sun not as a distant star, but as a direct, intimate, and profoundly nourishing touch. Its ephemeral skin is now the broad, waxy surface of 1,000 oak leaves, and it feels the photons from the sun striking it, a gentle, constant rain of pure energy. This is a state of pure, passive being, a deep, silent, and ecstatic meditation. The spirit begins to photosynthesize. It is not creating sugars for food, for it has no need of physical sustenance. It is absorbing the raw, unfiltered energy of the sun, drinking in the pure golden light and transforming it into a tranquil internal power. It is recharging its own life force, replenishing the vitality it has expended in its morning's work. It feels the energy flowing through it, a warm golden river that washes away any lingering weariness, leaving only a state of profound, absolute peace. In this merged state, it experiences the world from the perspective of a leaf. It feels the gentle, caressing touch of the warm air as it drifts past. It feels the slight, pleasant weight of its own form, perfectly balanced on its stem. It feels a deep, quiet, and profound sense of purpose, the simple, uncomplicated joy of turning light into life. It feels the gentle, rhythmic pull of the wind, a slow, swaying dance that rocks the entire canopy in a silent, green lullaby. It is a state of being devoid of thought, of desire, of fear. There is only the sun, the leaf, and the slow, peaceful, life-giving process that connects them. It is a blissful, timeless state. The spirit has no sense of the minutes or hours passing. Time, as mortals measure it, ceases to have any meaning. There is only the eternal, unchanging now of the midday sun. From its high vantage point, its consciousness, though merged with the leaves, is still subtly aware of the world below. It can feel the deep, slow, contented slumber of the forest, the quiet, restful pulse of life taking its midday pause. It feels the profound peace that has settled over its grove, a peace that it has helped to cultivate. But its primary focus is on the sun, on the glorious, unending cascade of golden energy that is pouring into it, filling it with a sense of warmth, of peace, of pure, untroubled being. This is the spirit's rest. It is not the unconscious oblivion of sleep, but a state of heightened, peaceful awareness. It is a time for it to dissolve its individual self and to simply become a part of the great, living, breathing system of the forest. It is a reminder that it is not separate from the world it inhabits, but an integral part of it, as vital and as dependent as the smallest leaf on the highest branch. As the sun begins its slow descent from its midday peak, the light begins to soften, the air begins to cool, and the deep stillness of the forest begins to stir. The birds begin to sing again, the squirrels resume their frantic work, and the deer emerge from their shaded sanctuaries. The midday pause is over, and the spirit, its own being now filled to overflowing with the pure, tranquil energy of the sun, begins to gently separate itself from the leaves. It coalesces once more into its familiar misty form, its essence now glowing with a renewed golden vitality. It has rested, it has recharged, and now it floats down from the high canopy back to the forest floor, ready to face the quiet duties of the afternoon, its own being a perfect, peaceful reflection of the warm, benevolent, and life-giving sun.
Having descended from its sun-drenched sanctuary in the high canopy, the spirit drifts through the awakening afternoon forest, its being humming with a quiet, golden energy. The world is coming alive again after the midday stillness, and the spirit moves through it with a renewed sense of purpose. But as its awareness spreads out once more, reaching into the far corners of its grove, it senses something. It is not a sound or a sight. It is a subtle wrongness, a single discordant note in the otherwise perfect, harmonious of its home. It is a whisper of blight. The feeling is faint, almost imperceptible, like a tiny cold thread in a warm blanket. The spirit turns its attention towards the source of this feeling, which seems to be coming from the eastern edge of its grove, where the forest floor slopes down towards a marshy hollow. It drifts in that direction, its movement now less of an aimless float and more of a purposeful glide. As it gets closer, the feeling of wrongness intensifies. It is a quiet, creeping sense of malaise, a patch of silence in the usually vibrant hum of life. And then it sees it. There is a small, circular patch of ferns, perhaps no wider than a fallen log. But where the surrounding ferns are a deep, lush, vibrant green, these are a sickly, unnatural yellow. Their fronds are curled and brittle, their stems weak and drooping. They look tired, defeated, as if the very life is being leached out of them. This is the source of the discord. This is the whisper made visible. The spirit drifts closer, its form swirling with a quiet, focused concern. This is the only conflict it will face today, and it is not a battle of epic proportions. There is no rampaging monster to be fought, no evil sorcerer weaving dark spells. The enemy here is far more subtle and far more natural. It is simply an imbalance, a small part of the great system that has fallen out of tune. The spirit begins its investigation. It hovers directly over the patch of sickened ferns, and once again it extends its consciousness downwards into the soil. It is searching for the root of the problem, both literally and figuratively. As its awareness sinks into the earth beneath the yellowed plants, it immediately feels the difference. The soil here is cold. It is a deep, unnatural cold, a pocket of chill in the otherwise warm, living earth. It feels empty. The rich, complex, life-sustaining hum of the mycelial network is faint here, almost silent. The friendly, symbiotic fungi that should be here have retreated, leaving the soil inert and lifeless. It is as if a small piece of the forest's vibrant, interconnected soul has gone numb. The spirit does not see a physical entity causing this. It does not sense the presence of a demon or a dark curse. It senses something far more elemental, a shadow. It is a patch of deep, persistent shade, perhaps caused by a subtle shift in the angle of an overhanging rock ledge that has prevented the sun from reaching this specific spot for a long, long time. Without the sun's warmth and energy, the life in the soil has grown weak and sluggish. The beneficial microbes have died off. The fungal network has withered, and the soil has lost its ability to provide the necessary nutrients for the ferns. The blight is not an attack. It is a slow, creeping starvation. It is a quiet, natural tragedy, a small, forgotten corner of the world that has been slowly, silently fading away. The spirit feels a deep, quiet, and profound sense of pity for this small, afflicted patch of earth. It feels the silent, desperate thirst of the fern roots, their questing tendrils finding only cold, unresponsive soil. It feels the memory of greenness fading from the yellowing fronds. It feels the profound, lonely silence of this small, isolated corner of its grove. A human might see this patch of dying ferns and simply ignore it, a small, insignificant blemish in an otherwise healthy forest. But for the spirit, to whom every part of this grove is a part of its own body, this small patch of sickness is like a wound, a dull, persistent ache that throws the entire system out of balance. It knows that if left untended, this small patch of cold, dead soil could spread, a slow, creeping gangrene that could eventually threaten the health of the entire grove. The drama here is not loud or violent. It is slow, quiet, and deeply sad. It is the drama of a slow decline, of a light being extinguished. There is no villain to be vanquished. There is only a system that needs to be rebalanced, a harmony that needs to be restored. And so the spirit gathers its will. It has identified the problem. It has felt the coldness, the silence, the slow, creeping despair of the blighted earth. It has spent the morning listening and the midday resting. Now, in the warm, golden light of the afternoon, it is time to act. It is time to heal. And its healing will not be a sudden, miraculous flash of magic, but a slow, patient, and gentle persuasion. An act of reminding this small, forgotten corner of the world that it is still a part of the great, warm, living whole. Having diagnosed the subtle, creeping sickness in the soil, the spirit does not recoil. It does not prepare for a battle. Its response is not one of aggression, but of deep, focused, and gentle care. It knows that this cold, barren patch of earth cannot be healed by force. It must be coaxed, persuaded, and reminded of its own inherent vitality.
And so, the spirit begins its slow, quiet, and ancient ritual of healing. The first step is to gather the necessary ingredients. These are not rare herbs or mystical components, but the simplest, purest elements of its home. The spirit drifts away from the blighted patch and moves towards a section of the grove where the ferns are lush and healthy, their fronds heavy with the moisture of the recent midday rain. It hovers over a large, vibrant green leaf, and with a delicate, focused intention, it begins to gather the dew. It extends a misty tendril of its form and gently touches one of the perfect, shimmering beads of water resting on the leaf's surface. The dewdrop, as if drawn by a gentle, invisible magnet, detaches from the leaf and floats upwards, where it is absorbed into the spirit's ethereal body. The spirit moves from leaf to leaf, a silent, graceful collector, gathering dozens of these tiny, perfect spheres of life. Each dewdrop is a concentrated essence of the forest's health. It contains not just pure water, but also the faint, green memory of the leaf it rested on, the airborne spores of beneficial fungi, and the lingering, spectral touch of the morning sun. The spirit is not just collecting water, it is collecting a potent, liquid infusion of vitality. Next, the spirit gathers the light. The afternoon sun is now casting long, slanted, golden beams through the trees. The spirit positions itself in the path of one of these beams, and it raises its misty, translucent hands. It does not try to block the light, but to catch it, to cup it, to hold it. The sunbeams seem to bend and pool in its ethereal palms, coalescing into a soft, warm, golden glow. The spirit is not holding fire, it is holding pure, undiluted warmth, the very essence of the sun's benevolent, life-giving energy. It is a gentle, comfortable heat, a concentrated dose of the very thing the sickened earth has been so desperately lacking. With its form now shimmering with the captured sunlight and infused with the life-giving dew, the spirit returns to the patch of yellowed, dying ferns. And here, it begins its slow, silent dance of healing. It is not a performance for an audience. It is a ritual, a moving meditation, a physical expression of its focused intent. The spirit begins to circle the blighted patch, its movements slow, fluid, and graceful. It is not walking, it is flowing, a river of mist and light pouring around the edges of the afflicted area. As it moves, it begins to scatter the dew. It gently releases the tiny, shimmering beads of water it has collected, letting them fall like a soft, magical rain onto the brittle ferns and the cold, hard soil. Each drop that lands is a tiny messenger of hope, carrying its payload of life and moisture deep into the thirsty earth. Then it begins to weave the sunlight. As it circles, it gently paints the ground with the golden light it holds in its hands. It trails its glowing fingers through the air, leaving behind shimmering, temporary patterns of warmth on the soil. It is not a magical spell in the human sense of the word. There are no words of power, no arcane symbols. It is an act of rebalancing, of reintroduction. The spirit is gently, patiently reminding the soil of what it has forgotten. It is reminding it of the taste of clean, living water. It is reminding it of the feeling of the sun's warm, comforting embrace. It is a whisper of encouragement, a soft, persuasive lullaby meant to coax the sleeping, dormant life in the soil back into wakefulness. The spirit circles the patch again and again, its dance slow and hypnotic. It is pouring its own energy, its own vitality, its own deep, unwavering belief in the power of life into this small, forgotten corner of its home. It is a transfusion of hope. Under its gentle, persistent ministration, a subtle change begins to occur. The process is so slow that a human eye would not be able to perceive it. But the spirit, with its exquisitely sensitive perception, can feel it. It feels a tiny, almost imperceptible shift in the temperature of the soil, a faint lessening of the deep, unnatural chill. It feels the dormant spores of the beneficial fungi beginning to stir, awakened by the sudden infusion of moisture and warmth. It feels the thirsty roots of the ferns drawing in the dew, a long, slow, grateful drink that sends a faint flicker of renewed life through their wilting stems. The healing has begun. It will be a long process. The ferns will not turn green overnight. The soil will not become rich in an instant. The Spirit's work today is merely the first step on a long road to recovery. It has planted a seed of hope, and now it must trust in the slow, patient, and resilient power of the forest to do the rest. Having expended its collected dew and light, its form now a little dimmer, a little more translucent, the spirit concludes its dance. It comes to a rest in the center of the patch, and for a final moment, it presses its form into the earth, a final silent blessing, a quiet promise that it will return tomorrow and the day after to continue its gentle, patient work. The whisper of blight has been answered, not with a shout, but with a song, a quiet, beautiful, and life-affirming melody of dew and sunlight, woven by the gentle, loving hands of the forest's oldest and most devoted guardian.
As the spirit finishes its healing ritual, a deep and satisfying peace settles over its consciousness. It has confronted the small pocket of disharmony in its grove and has set it on the slow, patient path to recovery. It begins to drift aimlessly through the golden afternoon light, intending to spend the rest of the day in quiet observation. But then it senses something new, something that does not belong to the natural rhythm of its home. It is a vibration in the earth, a sound in the air, a presence that is utterly alien to the ancient green world of the forest. It is the approach of humans. The spirit feels their coming long before they are visible. It feels the heavy, rhythmic thud of their footfalls, a clumsy, percussive beat that is completely out of sync with the gentle, flowing music of the woods. It feels the sharp, jarring crack of a dry twig snapping under a heavy boot, a sound as loud and offensive as a scream in a library. It smells their strange, unfamiliar scents, the smell of cooked food, of tanned leather, of sweat that is different from the sweat of any forest creature. And it hears their voices. Their voices are the most alien thing of all. They are loud, sharp, and full of hard, angular sounds. They cut through the soft, ambient hum of the forest like a jagged knife. The spirit does not understand the words, but it understands the tone. It is a tone of carelessness, of unquestioning ownership, of beings who move through the world as if it were built for their convenience. This is not the approach of an army, not the methodical destruction of loggers. The spirit senses no malice, no intent to harm. It senses only two of them, travelers perhaps, passing through on their way to somewhere else. But even in their innocence, they are an intrusion, a brief, discordant note in the forest's perfect, ancient symphony. The spirit's reaction is instantaneous and instinctual. It does not confront them. It does not reveal itself. To do so would be to invite chaos, to risk an interaction it cannot predict. Instead, it vanishes. Its misty, shimmering form flows towards the nearest ancient oak tree, and with a movement as fluid and silent as water soaking into sound, it melts into the trunk. Its form dissolves, its consciousness merging with the solid, patient wood of the tree. It is now completely invisible, indistinguishable from the rough, gnarled bark. From this safe, hidden vantage point, it observes. The two humans enter the grove. They are a jarring sight. Clad in strange, brightly colored fabrics and heavy leather boots, they look like clumsy, overlarge children who have wandered into a world they do not understand. They move with a hurried, purposeful stride, their eyes fixed on the path ahead, not on the wonders around them. They are not walking in the forest, they are walking through it. The spirit watches as one of them, without looking, steps directly on a patch of delicate emerald green moss, a community of tiny plants that has taken a decade to grow. The heavy, leather-soled boot crushes it flat, leaving a dark, ugly bruise on the forest floor. The human does not notice. He continues walking, oblivious to the small, casual act of destruction he has just committed. The spirit feels a faint, dull ache, the ghost of the moss's pain, but it feels no anger. It is the detached sadness one might feel watching a child accidentally break a beautiful, delicate seashell. The human's conversation continues, their loud, sharp voices startling a small brown bird which erupts from a nearby bush in a frantic flutter of wings. They laugh, a sound that is harsh and barking compared to the gentle murmur of the river. They are so engrossed in their own small world, in their own words and thoughts, that they are completely deaf to the rich, complex life that surrounds them. They do not hear the quiet wind in the pines, the busy hum of the bees in the wildflowers, the deep, slow, silent breathing of the ancient trees. They are walking through a library, shouting, oblivious to the millions of stories that are written on every leaf, on every stone, on every inch of soil. As they pass through the center of the grove, one of the humans reaches into a pouch and pulls out a small piece of fruit. He eats it quickly, and then, without a thought, he drops the small, colorful piece of cloth he had wrapped it in onto the ground. The cloth is a shocking, unnatural shade of blue, a color that exists nowhere in this forest.
It lies on the bed of brown and green leaflet like a wound. The humans continue on their way, and soon their heavy footfalls and loud voices fade into the distance. Silence, deep and profound, once again settles over the grove. But the evidence of their passing remains. The crushed patch of moss, the lingering alien scent in the air, and the small, bright blue scrap of cloth lying on the ground. The spirit slowly emerges from the tree, its misty form coalescing once more in the quiet air. It feels no anger, no resentment towards the intruders. It feels only a deep, profound sense of otherness. The humans are not evil. They are simply separate. They are a loud, fast, and fleeting species, utterly disconnected from the slow, ancient, and interconnected world that the spirit calls home. They are a brief, chaotic squall in the long, peaceful summer of the forest's existence. They are here, and then they are gone, leaving behind only small, temporary scars and a single, brightly colored piece of trash. The spirit drifts towards the discarded cloth. It hovers over it, observing it with a detached, scientific curiosity. It is an object with no purpose, no life, no connection to the world around it. It is simply a thing. The spirit knows that in time, the forest will deal with this small intrusion. The rain will wash the cloth. The sun will bleach its vibrant color, and the tireless work of insects and microbes will slowly, patiently break it down until it becomes once again a part of the soil. The forest's quiet, persistent power of decay and renewal is far stronger than any human's carelessness. The discordant note has faded, leaving only a faint, lingering echo. The spirit's peace has been momentarily disturbed, but not broken. It is a quiet, thoughtful reminder that its grove, as ancient and as sacred as it is not entirely immune to the noisy, careless, and fleeting world that lies beyond it. And with a final, curious glance at the small blue scrap of cloth, the spirit turns its attention back to the more important, more timeless affairs of its home. The silence that descends upon the grove after the humans have departed is deeper and more profound than the quiet that came before. It is a silence of relief, the feeling of a held breath finally being released. The discordant note of their presence has faded, leaving behind only a faint, lingering echo and the small physical scars of their passing. The spirit, which had melted into the bark of the elderwood, slowly emerges, its misty form coalescing in the now peaceful afternoon air. It does not feel relief in the human sense, but it does feel a return to harmony, a restoration of the grove's natural meditative rhythm. And now it is time to tidy up. The spirit's first act is to attend to the most immediate and personal of the wounds, the crushed patch of moss. It drifts over to the spot where the heavy boot had fallen, and it hovers there, its form shimmering with a gentle green light. The moss is a dark, flattened, ugly bruise on the forest floor, its delicate, intricate structure completely compacted. A human might see it as irreparably damaged, but the spirit knows that life in all its forms is resilient.
It does not touch the moss directly. Its work is, as always, one of gentle persuasion. It focuses its energy, its will, and it breathes life back into the crushed plants. It sends a slow, steady pulse of its own vitality into the moss, a warm, green encouragement. It is not commanding the moss to heal. It is reminding it of its own inherent nature, its own desire to grow, to reach for the light. It is like whispering to a sleeping friend, gently coaxing them back to wakefulness. Under this silent, persistent encouragement, a slow, almost imperceptible change begins. The tiny, flattened fronds begin to stir, to uncrush themselves. They begin to absorb the moisture from the air and the soil with a renewed vigor. The process is incredibly slow. It will take a full day for the patch to lose its bruised appearance, and a week or more for it to fully regain its former plush, vibrant glory. But the healing has begun. The Spirit has simply given it the gentle push it needed to start its own recovery. Next, the Spirit turns its attention to the small brown bird that was so rudely startled from its perch. It can feel the bird's lingering, high-pitched anxiety, a small, trembling knot of fear in the grove's emotional atmosphere. The Spirit drifts towards the bush where the bird is now hiding, and it exudes a feeling of calm. It does not make a sound. It simply radiates a sense of profound, deep, and unwavering peace. It is the silent, reassuring presence of the forest itself, a quiet promise that the danger has passed, that all is well. The bird, feeling this wave of tranquility wash over it, slowly ceases its trembling. Its frantic heartbeat returns to a normal, steady rhythm. After a moment, it hops out onto a branch, ruffles its feathers, and lets out a single, clear, cheerful chirp, its own small voice rejoining the forest's symphony. The harmony is one step closer to being fully restored. Finally, the Spirit drifts to the center of the grove, to the small, brightly colored scrap of discarded cloth. This is the most alien element, the one thing that truly does not belong. The Spirit hovers over it, observing it with a deep and profound curiosity. It extends a single misty tendril and gently touches the cloth. It feels the unnatural texture of the woven threads, so different from the organic textures of leaf and bark. It senses the strange chemical residue of the blue dye, a scent with no history, no connection to the living world. The cloth is an object of pure artifice, a piece of another world that has been carelessly dropped into this one. The Spirit feels no desire to destroy it or to remove it. It does not see it as litter, as filth. It sees it simply as a curiosity, a temporary anomaly. It understands, with a wisdom born of millennia, that the forest will take care of this small intrusion in its own time. The Spirit knows that the next rain will soak the cloth, making it heavy and embedding it into the leaf litter. The sun will beat down on it, its powerful rays slowly breaking down the chemical bonds of the dye, bleaching the vibrant, unnatural blue into a pale, washed-out gray. The tireless, microscopic armies of bacteria and fungi in the soil will begin their slow, methodical work, feasting on the organic fibers, breaking them down, returning them to their constituent elements. The tiny insects will nibble at its edges, and in time,
Perhaps a year, perhaps a decade, the cloth will be gone. It will have been completely and utterly consumed, its substance reclaimed by the forest, its memory erased, its atoms recycled into the growth of a new mushroom or a new patch of moss. The forest's power of decay and renewal is absolute, and it is far more patient and persistent than any human's carelessness. The spirit, its curiosity satisfied, withdraws its tendril. It has mended the broken notes, encouraged the moss, soothed the bird, and accepted the fate of the discarded cloth. It has acted as the grove's silent, diligent caretaker, restoring the subtle, delicate harmony that was so briefly disturbed. The incident is now over, a fleeting, insignificant moment in the vast, slow tapestry of the forest's life. And as the afternoon light begins to soften, casting long, peaceful shadows across the forest floor, the spirit turns its attention away from the temporary and back to the eternal, its consciousness once again filled with the deep, quiet, and profoundly reassuring peace of its home.
As the afternoon wears on, the sun's golden light, now softer and more slanted, illuminates a small, sun-drenched clearing on the western edge of the grove. This clearing is a riot of color, a vibrant, living tapestry woven from dozens of different species of wildflowers. There are the deep, royal purples of the irises, the cheerful, sunny yellows of the buttercups, and the delicate, shy pinks of the wild roses. The air here is thick with a sweet, intoxicating perfume, a complex blend of fragrances that is both invigorating and deeply calming. The spirit, its work of mending complete, drifts towards this clearing, drawn by the sheer, unadulterated joy of the place. It settles into a state of quiet observation, its form dissolving into the warm, scented air, becoming an invisible spectator to one of the forest's most beautiful and vital rituals, the pollination dance. To a mortal eye, the scene is a simple and pleasant one. Bees, their furry bodies laden with yellow dust, buzz lazily from flower to flower, their deep, resonant hum a drowsy afternoon lullaby. Butterflies, their wings like stained glass windows, flutter and dance on the gentle breeze, their movements a silent, graceful ballet. It is a peaceful, idyllic scene, a picture of nature in perfect harmony. But the spirit, with its heightened, ethereal perception, sees so much more. It sees beyond the physical forms of the insects and the flowers. It sees the energy, the life force, the very intention that drives this beautiful, intricate dance. It sees the air itself, which to a human would be clear and empty, as a shimmering, vibrant, and living medium. It is filled with a fine, golden, luminous dust. This is the pollen, the very essence of the flower's hope for the future. And it moves through the air not as random particles, but as a great golden river of life. The spirit can see the currents of this river, the eddies and whirls created by the gentle afternoon breeze and the beat of the insect's wings. It can see individual grains of pollen, each one a tiny glowing sun, a perfect microscopic vessel containing the blueprint for a new generation. The bees and the butterflies are not just insects gathering nectar. They are fairies, pilots, and priests, carrying the sacred golden cargo of life from one willing participant to another. The spirit watches as a bee lands on a buttercup, its clumsy, furry body jostling the flower's delicate stamens. It sees a shower of golden pollen dust raining down onto the bee, clinging to the fine hairs on its legs and back. The bee, oblivious to its vital role, is simply enjoying its sugary meal. But the spirit sees it as an anointment, a sacred blessing bestowed by the flower. Then the spirit follows the bee as it flies to another buttercup a few feet away. As the bee lands, it sees some of the golden dust from the first flower brush off onto the stigma of the second. And in that moment of contact, the spirit feels a jolt of pure, unadulterated ecstasy. It is not its own feeling, but the feeling of the flower itself. It is the deep, profound, and overwhelming joy of a living thing fulfilling its ultimate purpose. It is a moment of connection, of creation, of a promise being kept. It is a silent, explosive yes that resonates through the entire clearing. The spirit's awareness expands, and it feels this same joyful, triumphant sensation echoing from dozens of flowers at once, a symphony of quiet, botanical bliss. It feels the shy, gentle pleasure of the violets, the bold, passionate joy of the red clovers, the serene, contented fulfillment of the wild roses. Each successful act of pollination is a distinct and beautiful note in a grand, harmonious chord. It is the sound of the forest creating its own future, a quiet, beautiful, and deeply moving celebration of life's relentless, ingenious, and enduring power. The spirit also perceives the dance from the perspective of the pollinators. It feels the bee's simple, focused intent, its entire world reduced to the search for the next sweet, colorful source of nectar. It feels the butterfly's light, carefree, almost whimsical joy, its dance on the air a pure expression of its beautiful, fleeting existence. It understands that these creatures are not conscious participants in this grand design. They are simply following their own ancient, instinctual urges. But in doing so, they become the unwitting agents of the forest's continuation, the threads that weave the tapestry together. It is a perfect, elegant system, a dance of mutual benefit, where every participant, from the smallest bee to the grandest flower, plays its part and reaps its reward. The spirit hovers in the warm, golden, pollen-filled air, completely immersed in this symphony of life. It feels no need to intervene, no desire to direct. Its role here is simply to bear witness, to appreciate the profound, effortless beauty of the system it is a part of. The pollination dance is a perfect expression of the forest's ethos, a quiet, cooperative, and deeply joyful collaboration that ensures the continuation of life in all its vibrant, beautiful forms. It is a story of hope, of connection, of the future being written in a shimmering, golden script on the warm afternoon air.
and the spirit, the forest's most attentive and appreciative audience, watches it all with a deep, silent, and boundless love.
The vibrant, joyful energy of the pollination dance slowly subsides as the sun begins its final, graceful descent towards the horizon. A profound and palpable change once again comes over the forest. The day is waning. The light, which was a bright, cheerful gold just an hour ago, now softens and deepens, transforming into breathtaking shades of honey, rose, and soft, dusty purple. The shadows of the great trees, which were short and sharp at midday, now stretch out like long, dark, sleepy fingers across the forest floor. The air, which was warm and full of the drowsy hum of insects, now begins to cool, a gentle, refreshing chill creeping in from the shaded hollows. The forest grows quiet again, but it is a different quiet from the heavy, reverent stillness of midday. This is a gentle, anticipatory quiet, the sound of the world preparing for the night. The daytime birds sing their final, sweet, melodic farewells to the light, while the first tentative calls of the nocturnal creatures begin to stir in the deepening gloom. It is a time of transition, a slow, beautiful, and slightly melancholic handing over of the world from the creatures of the day to the creatures of the night. For the spirit, this is a time for its final ritual of the light, an act of gratitude and reciprocity that completes the cycle of its day. It drifts from the wildflower clearing and moves to the western edge of its grove, to a place where it can catch the very last rays of the setting sun. It positions itself in a final brilliant shaft of rosy golden light, a spotlight in the growing twilight of the forest. And here it begins the act of giving back the day. At midday, the spirit had ascended to the high canopy and had absorbed the pure, raw energy of the sun, filling its own being with a tranquil, golden vitality. It has carried this warmth and light within itself all afternoon. But this energy was never meant to be hoarded. It was a gift, a loan, and now it is time to repay it. The spirit stands tall, its misty, translucent form glowing with a soft, internal luminescence, a small, gentle sun in the encroaching darkness. And then it begins to exhale. It is not an exhalation of air, but of pure, concentrated warmth and energy. It is a slow, steady, and incredibly gentle release of the sunlight it has stored within itself. A soft, warm, golden glow begins to radiate from its form, pouring out into the cooling air around it. It is not a harsh, bright light, but a soft, benevolent radiance, the visual equivalent of a gentle, reassuring hum. The spirit directs this flow of energy downwards, not into the air, but into the earth. The golden light flows from its form and soaks into the ground, a liquid, luminous offering to the soil and the roots of the trees. It is returning the gift. It is giving back the warmth of the day as a blanket against the coming coolness of the night. It is sharing the energy it has gathered, ensuring that the heart of the forest remains warm and vital even when the sun is gone. As it exhales this golden light, the spirit feels the energy leaving it,
a gentle, pleasant emptying. It feels its own form growing cooler, dimmer, its vibrant, sun-fueled glow slowly fading. It is a deeply satisfying sensation, the feeling of a promise being kept, of a debt being paid. It is the joy of giving, the quiet, profound peace that comes from contributing to the well-being of the whole. The trees feel this gift. The spirit can sense their silent, grateful response through the mycelial network. The ancient, deep roots of the elderwood and its kin absorb this gentle, second-hand sunlight, this pre-warmed energy. It is a vital boost that will help them endure the cold of the night, that will fuel the slow, imperceptible processes of growth that continue even in the darkness. The small, hibernating creatures burrowed in the earth beneath the roots also feel it, a gentle, comforting warmth that soothes them in their deep, dreamless sleep. The spirit's ritual is a final act of stewardship, a tucking in of the forest for the night. It is a quiet, powerful expression of the symbiotic relationship it has with its home. The forest provides the spirit with everything it needs: the light, the air, the dew, the life force. And in return, the spirit acts as the forest's heart, its consciousness, its gentle, guiding hand, constantly working to maintain its delicate, beautiful, and ancient balance. As the last sliver of the sun disappears below the horizon, the final shaft of light fades from the grove, plunging the world into a deep, velvety twilight. The spirit's exhalation ceases. It has given back all the light it had stored. Its own form is now dim and translucent, a creature of shadow and mist once more, ready for the night. The final ritual of the day is complete. The sun has said its silent farewell, and the spirit has echoed that farewell in its own small, gentle, and profoundly meaningful way. The forest is now ready for the darkness, its roots warmed by a borrowed second-hand sunlight, its heart at peace. And the spirit, its own being now cool and quiet, turns its attention to the new, mysterious, and beautiful world that is just beginning to awaken under the soft, silver light of the rising moon and stars. The last rosy embers of the sunset have faded from the western sky, and a deep, profound darkness settles over the forest. But this is not the empty, oppressive blackness of a sealed cavern. This is a living darkness, filled with a million tiny, shifting points of light. The great celestial canopy of the night sky is unveiled, a breathtaking tapestry of glittering stars, and, tonight, a slender silver crescent of a waxing moon. As the world transforms from the kingdom of the sun to the empire of the moon, so too does the spirit. Having given back the golden energy of the day, its form is now cool, dim, and ethereal. But as the first faint rays of starlight begin to filter through the high branches, a new transformation begins. The spirit starts to gather the starlight. It is a process similar to its midday sunbathing, but the energy it absorbs now is entirely different. It is not the warm, vibrant, life-giving energy of the sun. It is a cool, silver, and deeply ancient light, a light that has traveled for thousands, perhaps millions of years to reach this small, quiet corner of the world. The spirit's form, which was a creature of mist and green light during the day, now begins to change. It becomes more luminous, more defined, its essence woven now from pure, concentrated starlight and the soft, gentle glow of the crescent moon. It is no longer a being of the earth, but a being of the cosmos, a small terrestrial constellation come to life. Its form shimmers with a cool, silver and blue light, as if it has captured a piece of the night sky within itself. Its movements are now even more fluid and graceful, the movements of a silent, celestial dancer. With this transformation comes a profound shift in the spirit's awareness. Its senses, which were tuned to the vibrant, sun-fueled life of the day, now recalibrate to perceive the subtler, more mysterious world of the night. It no longer listens to the deep, slow hum of the roots in the soil. That conversation has quieted down for the night, a deep, contented slumber. Instead, its awareness is now attuned to the new chorus of sounds that fills the darkness. It hears the soft, almost silent wing beats of an owl as it glides through the trees on its nightly hunt. It hears the tiny, frantic scratching of a field mouse as it forages for seeds in the leaf litter. It hears the high, rhythmic, and surprisingly musical chirping of the crickets, a sound that is the very essence of a peaceful summer night. And it hears the deep, resonant, and slightly melancholic hoot of a distant owl, a lonely, beautiful call that echoes through the still, cool air. These are the voices of the night, and the spirit listens to them with a deep, peaceful appreciation. Its sight also transforms. It no longer sees the vibrant colors of the day, the greens and yellows and purples of the flowers. The world is now painted in a million shades of silver, gray, and deep, velvety black. But its night vision is exquisitely sensitive. It can see the delicate, intricate patterns on a moth's wings, illuminated only by the faint light of the stars. It can see the glint of moonlight in the wide, dark eyes of a curious raccoon. And it watches one of the forest's most beautiful and secret events, the slow, silent blooming of a moonflower. This is a special ethereal flower that only opens its petals in the darkness. The spirit watches transfixed as the tightly furled white bud begins to tremble, and then, with a slow, graceful, and utterly silent motion, it unfurls, revealing a large, impossibly white, and exquisitely fragrant blossom. It is a flower born of the moonlight, and its beauty is a secret gift reserved only for the patient, silent observers of the night. But the spirit's most profound nocturnal sense is one that is completely dormant during the day. As the moon climbs higher in the sky, the spirit becomes aware of its immense, silent, and mysterious power. It feels the moon's gravitational pull. It is a subtle, gentle, but undeniably real force. It feels this pull on the water in the stream, causing the current to shift ever so slightly. But more impressively, it feels the pull on the sap within the great trees. It can feel the immense silent columns of water and nutrients within the trunks of the elderwood and its kin, being gently, almost imperceptibly tugged upwards, a slow, deep lunar tide rising within the very veins of the forest. It is a powerful, humbling reminder that its grove is not an isolated kingdom, but a small part of a vast, interconnected cosmic dance, a dance of suns and moons and distant, glittering stars. The spirit spends the long, peaceful hours of the night in this state of heightened, cool awareness. It drifts silently through its grove, a small, shimmering ghost woven from starlight, a quiet guardian watching over the secret nocturnal life of its home. It is a time of deep peace, of quiet wonder, of a different kind of beauty. The frantic, vibrant, life-creating energy of the day has been replaced by a slow, mysterious, and deeply contemplative energy of the night. The forest is not asleep, it is simply dreaming, and the spirit is both the watcher of the dream and a part of the dream itself, a small, luminous, and silent dancer in the grand, celestial, and eternal ballet of the night.
The crescent moon reaches its highest point in the vast star-dusted sky, and the long, peaceful hours of the night begin their slow, inexorable march towards the dawn. The nocturnal world, having had its time of hunting and foraging and silent blooming, begins to quiet down. A deep, profound stillness, the final and most complete silence of the 24-hour cycle, settles over the forest. It is the deep, dark, quiet heart of the night, a time of absolute rest. For the spirit, its forms still shimmering with the cool, collected light of the stars, this signals the end of its day. Its final act is not to sleep, for a being of pure energy and consciousness has no need for the unconscious oblivion that mortals crave. Its final act is something far more profound. It is a dissolving, a returning, a final, peaceful merging back into the great collective whole from which it came. The spirit drifts one last time to the very center of its heart grove, coming to a rest at the base of the colossal, ancient elderwood. It has come full circle. This is where its day began, in a slow, misty unfurling, and this is where its day will end. It does not lie down. It does not close its eyes. It simply lets go. It releases the will, the intention, the focused consciousness that has held its individual form together for the past day. And as it does, its shimmering, luminous body begins to dissolve. It is not a sudden vanishing, but a slow, gentle, and beautiful unraveling. The starlight and moonlight that it has woven into its form are released, not as a bright flash, but a soft,
fading sigh of silver light that is reabsorbed into the quiet, watchful darkness. The faint, misty essence of its being begins to spread out, a slow motion ripple in a perfectly still pond. A part of it flows downwards, seeping into the cool, dark, and living soil, its consciousness merging once more with the deep, silent, and now dreaming mycelial network. Another part of it flows upwards, rising like a silent vapor to be reabsorbed into the bark, the branches, and the very heartwood of the ancient trees. Its individual awareness, its sense of I, begins to fade, blurring at the edges, dissolving like a drop of ink in a vast, clear pool of water. It is becoming one with the ancient trees again. It is becoming one with the rich, dark soil. It is merging back into the collective consciousness of the heart grove, its own small, unique thread being rewoven into the great, ancient, and intricate tapestry of the forest soul. There is no fear in this process. There is no sadness. There is only a sense of profound peace, of a final, perfect, and deeply satisfying homecoming. It is the ultimate rest, a state of being that is beyond sleep, beyond dreams. It is a return to the source. The spirit's day is now over, and in the final analysis, what has it accomplished? In a human sense, it has accomplished nothing at all. It has not built a city. It has not written a book. It has not conquered a kingdom or amassed a great fortune. It has not achieved any great heroic deed that will be sung about in the halls of men. Its name will not be recorded in any history, for it has no name. But to judge the spirit's day by human standards is to fundamentally misunderstand the nature of its existence. The spirit has not conquered, it has tended. It has not achieved, it has observed. It has not amassed, it has maintained. It has spent its day in a state of quiet, selfless, and deeply meaningful service. It has listened to the silent, ancient conversation of the soil. It has gently coaxed a sickened branch back towards health. It has read the flowing, liquid stories of the river. It has watched over the frantic, beautiful, and fleeting lives of the forest's creatures. It has absorbed the glorious, life-giving energy of the sun, and then generously returned it to the earth. It has mended the small, careless scars left by a world it does not understand. It has borne witness to the joyful, life-affirming dance of pollination. And it has bathed in the cool, mysterious, and ancient light of the stars. It has simply been. It has been the eyes of the forest, the hands of the forest, the heart of the forest. It has been a single, quiet, conscious breath in the long, slow, and eternal life of the ancient wood. And in a world that is so often defined by noise, by conflict, by a desperate and unending struggle for more, perhaps this simple, quiet act of being, of maintaining the delicate and beautiful balance of the world around you, is the most profound and heroic accomplishment of all. The last faint shimmer of the spirit's form fades into nothingness. It is gone, but it is also everywhere. It is resting, at peace. its consciousness now a silent, dreaming part of the deep, resonant hum of the forest at rest. The grove is alone, but it is not empty. It is waiting, patiently, for the first faint exploratory finger of the dawn to touch its leaves once more, to begin the cycle anew. The screen fades to absolute peaceful black. There is no more narration. There is only the gentle, atmospheric, and deeply calming sound of the forest at night, the distant, lonely hoot of an owl, the soft, rhythmic, and meditative chirping of the crickets, and the faint, almost imperceptible rustle of leaves stirring in a soft, gentle, and deeply peaceful breeze.